The alert flashed at 3:17 a.m. NASA's internal network was bleeding data, not from Russia or China, but from a suburban bedroom in Miami. The hacker moved like a ghost, stealing crucial International Space Station code. System administrators watched helplessly. But this wasn't a foreign spy. This was a 15-year-old boy named Jonathan James, and his attack would trigger the largest manhunt in cyber history, forcing the entire US government to ask one terrifying question: how did a teenager bring NASA to its knees? While other kids played video games, Jonathan James taught himself assembly language. His weapon wasn't a gun, it was a 56K dial-up modem. His battlefield was the emerging internet. His parents saw a quiet computer enthusiast. The government would soon see a cyber terrorist. He began small, hacking local ISP networks, learning digital lockpicking. But his hunger grew. He needed bigger targets, more secure systems. And his eyes landed on the most protected networks on Earth: the United States Department of Defense. The Pentagon's networks were considered impenetrable. Layers of firewalls, military-grade encryption, and constant monitoring. But James found his entry through a forgotten backdoor, an unpatched vulnerability in an old server. He slipped through digital cracks, navigating classified sections containing military deployments and weapons data. For 6 months, he wandered through America's most sensitive secrets, like a ghost in the machine, downloading whatever intrigued him. Then he discovered his ultimate target: NASA's Johnson Space Center, the hub controlling the International Space Station. Here, he found the crown jewel: software controlling the ISS's life support and temperature systems. The code worth $1.7 million. As he downloaded the files, he left a subtle signature, a digital fingerprint that would later haunt him. He didn't know it yet, but he had just triggered NASA's complete network shutdown. The download progress bar reached 100%. Jonathan smiled in his dark bedroom, but miles away, a different screen flashed red. Unauthorized access, ISS control systems. NASA engineers watched in horror as their systems went offline one by one. The space station's code was gone, and then came the panic. Was this an attack on astronauts' lives? Who was behind this? Little did they know the answer would be more shocking than any spy thriller. NASA immediately disconnected from the internet. 21 days of shutdown. $41,000 in recovery costs. The FBI launched Operation Nightfall. Agents traced the hack through multiple proxy servers across Europe. Before the trail went cold, they assumed they were hunting a state-sponsored team. Meanwhile, Jonathan continued his normal life, attending high school, doing homework, while America's top investigators searched for a phantom. The break came from an unexpected source: Jonathan's own arrogance. he hacked a South Carolina security firm, taunting them with messages. This gave FBI agents their first solid lead. They began monitoring ISP logs across Miami, searching for patterns. Meanwhile, Jonathan prepared for his most daring hack yet, breaking into the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, monitoring nuclear weapons. The noose was tightening. The FBI set up a digital trap, a honeypot server, designed to attract hackers. When Jonathan took the bait, they finally had him. Agents raided his home on January 26, 2000. They expected a sophisticated operation. Instead, they found a teenager in pajamas. His hacking tools scattered among homework assignments. The world's most wanted cybercriminal was just a high school student. The legal shockwave was immediate. At 16, Jonathan became the first minor convicted for hacking. The prosecution demanded prison time, but the judge saw something else: a brilliant mind gone astray. Instead of jail, he received probation, computer restrictions, and had to write apology letters. The case made international headlines: the teen who hacked NASA. But this was only Act 1. 7 years later, another cyber disaster struck. TJX companies, Marshalls, Boston Market, all breached in the largest identity theft in history. 45 million credit cards stolen. The FBI found a familiar digital fingerprint at the crime scene. All evidence pointed to one man, Jonathan James. But there was a problem. He had disappeared without a trace. Had the reformed hacker returned to his old ways? The investigation revealed a sophisticated international ring with connections to Russian organized crime. The hackers used similar techniques to Jonathan's early methods, but enhanced. The FBI wondered, had James taught others? Was he mentoring a new generation of cybercriminals? The pressure mounted as financial institutions demanded answers. Reporters camped outside Jonathan's home. His family received death threats. The government prepared new charges that could send him to prison for decades. But Jonathan maintained his innocence to everyone who would listen. He claimed he was being framed, that someone had copied his methods. The truth, however, was far more complicated. The real hackers were eventually caught. Albert Gonzalez and his international crew. Their methods were indeed similar to James's early techniques, but more advanced. Jonathan was cleared of involvement, but the damage was done. His reputation was destroyed. The once proud hacker became a recluse, haunted by what others had done, using his blueprint. The stress took its toll. Jonathan developed severe depression and autoimmune disorders. The boy who once outsmarted NASA now struggled with basic daily tasks. His family watched helplessly as he withdrew from the world. The same mind that cracked impossible codes couldn't solve his own suffering. The ghost in the machine was becoming a ghost in real life. In 2008, Jonathan gave one final interview. "I wasn't trying to harm anyone," he said. "I just wanted knowledge." He spoke about the irony that the government now paid hackers like him millions as security consultants, while he remained an outcast. His eyes held a deep sadness that no code could fix. The final chapter began on May 18th, 2008. Jonathan James walked into his bedroom, wrote a brief note, and ended his life with a gunshot. He was 25 years old. The suicide note revealed his torment. "I have no faith in the justice system. Perhaps my actions today will send a stronger message." The note continued with heartbreaking clarity. "I am genuinely sorry for the drama. I just don't want to spend the next 30 years in prison for something I didn't do." Even in his final moments, he was precise, leaving no digital traces, no unfinished business. The ultimate hacker ensured his final exit was clean. In death, Jonathan James became a legend and a warning. His story inspired both awe and fear. To some, he was a genius, wronged by the system. To others, a criminal who escaped justice. But the cybersecurity community knew the truth. He was the prototype for the modern hacker. Today, Jonathan's legacy lives in every security patch, every firewall update. His hacks forced NASA and the DoD to completely overhaul their cybersecurity. The boy who hacked for curiosity created a safer digital world. The very systems he breached became stronger because of him. The ghost in the machine is gone, but his shadow remains in every line of security code, in every network defense. Jonathan James's story echoes, a reminder that the most dangerous threats don't come from outside, but from the quiet bedrooms next door, and that sometimes the brightest minds burn out too fast, leaving only questions and a legacy that changed cybersecurity forever. He challenged giants from the shadows and left a legacy written in code. His story forces us to ask, where does curiosity end and crime begin? If you believe some truths are worth uncovering, then subscribe to Reality Decoded, because next time we dive deeper into the shadows where genius and tragedy collide. This is Reality Decoded. Stay curious, but be careful what you search for.